Hello, welcome to today's Back to the City. I'm excited to have both Erin and Steve from Phantom Fields in the studio with me today. Welcome.
Thank you.
We, by the time this episode airs, we're right on the cusp of your Mortimer's release party for the LP, Now You Know, and which is, of course, Friday, April 5th. So who else is playing that release show with you?
That night, we've got Redwing Blackbird, Irreverent Redwing Blackbird, and
tantalizing. I'm just that word, irreverent, has piqued my interest.
they're a band that loves to change the names of the other bands that they're playing with. And they'll say, "Hey, thank you, Phantom Frogs," or whatever. But they're a lot of fun. They are a very unique band. Right? Got a touch of a comedy edge to them, but they're awesome.
Yeah,
they're
like a
awesome.
bit of comedy.
Yep. The Right Here, which is a great rock punk outfit from Minneapolis.
Awesome energy.
Awesome energy. Yep. And James Eugene Russell.
Great songwriter.
Yep, who's more of a old-timey country kind of a sound. All those bands are just kind of maybe one step away from our sound, maybe, because we tend to have one foot in the country world and another foot in kind of garage rock.
Absolutely. Yeah, the bio puts it really well. In your 6-song debut release, Now You Know, intrepid musical prospectors, Phantom Fields guide us along an uncharted stream of alt country indie rock. It sounds like the other acts on the bill will be able to visit each of those different areas before them all coming together in your set.
Yeah. It's true, yeah. A couple of years ago, Ben Johnston from our band and Tate and the two of us, we discussed this idea of, there's kind of a momentum building for kind of city country bands that are kind of country, but kind of rock maybe, and not traditional country. Sometimes it's old-timey country, sometimes it's just a little bit of homegrown kind of a country sound. And so we started with these other bands, this city country collective. And those guys have always been involved in the events that we set up. And so it'll be nice to have those guys with us.
Right. So those are some of the other members of this collective.
Yeah.
But the collective is many more than just these 4 acts.
Correct.
What you were saying about there being a country component, but it's quite different from traditional country, is a nice seg to the music, which we're about to dive into. But before we dive into the music, could you say a little bit more about City Country Collective?
Sure. The genres mix. You have some precursors where whether it was the Replacements doing what they were doing, it's something, there was some sort of mix between you take who we grew up with, the Jayhawks, for example. You got that really nice intermingling of things like that. I was just watching with my family last night this band called Jim Jam, which is an Irish band who's sort of like reclaiming bluegrass. And so I kind of like that. I kind of like, the Americana label is a little, I don't know. I don't know what that means sometimes, but I like what we're coming up with to mix genres a little bit. And sometimes with us, I feel that with our music, like, what are we doing here? Is it country? Is it rockier? And so yeah, that's sort of a comment on the mix of those, why those groups came together. We appreciate each other's music, so that's nice.
And it seemed to be, but if I understand correctly, it seemed to be something that was organically occurring, that there were a number of bands that could be categorized as like city country.
Yeah,
and so
that's Ben Johnston.
Give it a name.
Yeah, Ben and Tate are sort of responsible for that.
Those two guys, they know so many musicians and so many bands in town.
Ben is in a band
right?
With me, for example.
Yeah. That
Self-Evident is a favorite local band,
Right,
a
right,
favorite
right.
band of mine, and he, of course, is the drummer in that.
Well, Ben is able to play so many different genres of music, and sometimes all in one night. He can kind of switch, you know, kind of come in and out of different feels in a song, and
Yeah,
that kind of comes into our music too.
not just within one night, but within one set, within one band,
Yeah,
within one
true
song.
that.
Yeah, it's true. Sometimes, you know, when we're practicing, the song has a kind of a straightforward feel that we've heard and we've practiced before, but somehow maybe we haven't practiced it for a while, and Ben just kind of comes up with an extra world beat or something that kind of gets inserted into the song somehow, or
Or self-evident sort of something.
yeah, a little more
leans-
mathy feel or something. You know, it's I really appreciate that about Ben.
Yeah, it's great.
And about Tate too and Steve, that these guys are all able to kind of go with the flow and you know, kind of be in one genre at one moment, but if the song, you know, kind of calls for it, we don't have to, you know, be straight country, you know, throughout a tune, you know.
So we've been hearing, throughout the episode, we're hearing the songs from the record.
Yeah.
And momentarily we'll be shifting our attention to those particular songs and focusing on some of the details. Quickly, we're just referencing not only Ben, but also Tate, the other two members.
Yeah.
As far as I understand it, did the band come together during the pandemic, early pandemic? Could you say just a little bit about the backgrounds of each of the members and how the collective, that is the band, came to be?
We've been a combo, the two of us, for songwriters forever.
Mhm.
Tate was another person we got to know
Mhm.
through another band member, and then that was maybe 15, 16 years ago. So, you know, the three of us were pretty tight. We kept losing drummers after a period.
Very
and,
Spinal Tap.
you know, it was true. And what's so cool is that Tate is, you know, self-taught on every instrument he does. He does take lessons, and thank God. But my point is that, like, he has really changed with what he plays. So when he picked up the pedal steel, I was like, what are we going to do with that? So Ben showed up during COVID, and his other bands did not want to play as much. And he joined our band sort of during that.
Yeah, it was nice. We were all at least 6 feet apart from each other in the practice space. The four of us, you know, each in a corner.
You certainly is very, very well behaved.
We were masked, I think, even during those days. No, but that was a much needed escape
Yes.
from the COVID lockdown situation. And we, at some point, just kind of realized, boy, we all just kind of have this need. It's kind of a sickness that we have. You know, we have to keep playing music.
Yeah. I mean,
You know, you probably have it too, right?
exactly. Yeah, I was going to say I wouldn't call it a sickness.
I'd
because I-
call it a blessing amidst the sickness. But the cool part is that basically Ben came in, and that solidified some stuff. And he drew, as a drummer, he drew upon our repertoire already. So he kind of, you know, raked through the repertoire. We picked some things from the past, but then we also started writing new, and that was super fun.
Okay. And so Ben was the catalyst somehow that made everything fit
For
together.
this name, Phantom Fields, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
And
Well, Steve and Steve and I played in a group called Pioneer Sun, and the shows we played most often were acoustic based. And in that time, Tate was also learning how to play the pedal steel, and so that became part of our shows as well. But we played at kind of lower volumes and with acoustic guitars. And when Ben first got together with us, we started off in that direction. But then we realized that, I mean, to unleash the full capability of Ben Johnston, you know,
Pretty much.
it doesn't need to be that restrained kind of soft and acoustic-y sound, you
yes,
know.
and along with Ben, also you, the other members, to
True.
to find.
Well, we started writing more.
Mm.
We started writing more. We started thinking more of that band in mind. We changed, you know, some different arrangements or something to make this band really shine, especially with pedal steel in the way.
Yeah, on which note we should highlight that this is just the first of 2 EPs that will come out this year. So you have a lot of material under your belts, and presumably some of that other material will be in your set, and Morton is.
Yes. This first EP has a definite country lean.
Mhm.
The second EP has a little bit more of a rock lean. Yeah.
Well, let's take a journey through this first EP then. It begins with the title track, which is also the first single.
Yep.
So people are probably quite familiar with this song, hopefully, by now. And I like that in the choruses, for a start, it's just the lyric, now you know, that is repeated chorus to chorus. The other lyrics, chorus to chorus, shift. And I wonder if you have anything to say about the juxtaposition of this kind of easy to hear, easy to relate to, now you know, and then the other lyrics in the choruses, wondering what's inside the door of the shed behind the barn at the very beginning of the song, looking inside the darkened window to the other side. So the other lyrics in the chorus like set up this being on the cusp of possibly learning something new, or on the cusp of the other side, and then it's back to the refrain, the comfort of the refrain. Now you know. It's just such an interesting songwriting feature. I should also highlight you're both songwriters in the band. So and some songs presumably are written just by one, or is that the case? Who wrote this song?
I wrote this one.
Okay.
And to answer the question before you know, what we do is we generally take our own lyrics, or we'll get a certain thread of an idea.
Yep.
I wouldn't call it a hook, but then we usually present, and then we refine. Sometimes I'm listening to other band members, and they'll come up with a line, and I'll think, is that a country tune? And then I have fun with it. So I think it comes from both of us separately, and then we refine. This one with Now You Know is kind of, we're called Phantom Fields, and it alludes to sort of a rural, sort of out in the fields, nature, etc. Several of us grew up out in greater Minnesota, greater Wisconsin. So I think this, tune, you're right, there's sort of a happy lift, like you're wondering about stuff and you're curious about it. But it's kind of like, well, you found out. And so it's kind of, that's where that emotion's coming from. Kind of like, I like rural scenes, and I like thinking about, I wonder what's in that barn. I wonder, when you drive through the countryside or somewhere and you see these empty buildings or these abandoned cars and things like that. But it's also the thing, like, what you think you want to know, you really don't want to know.
Absolutely.
Like transparency is not necessarily what you want. You're looking through the darkened window. Now you know. So it's kind of like finding out secrets you don't want to know, or like trying things you thought were kind of cool. But that's where that came from.
Absolutely. So the song kind of repeatedly takes us on the one hand, wonder, curiosity. These are nice feelings. But then the song repeatedly takes us from this place of curiosity and wonder to being confronted with a discomforting reality. And
maybe.
Yes,
Not to be too pessimistic, although the lyrics kind of
in the verses. And for example, there's some kind of ventriloquism put the kids in. So one of the verses goes, wondered what would happen if you were president, all the control while still taking rent, put the kids in the house. Actually, and somebody's, again, on the back of what you were just saying, I think, so Ben shared these lyrics with me once I reached out to the Instagram, I think Ben was managing that. And so I got to witness the evolution of the songs that you were just describing, particularly with Lightning Strikes, for example. The opening lyric to the second line was originally, well, I took your love, but then it becomes still I took your love. And lots of things like that are happening in keeping with what you were just saying about the songs evolving with the band. But specifically with this verse here, immigrants are good if they're working for the family. That's the ventriloquism that I was talking about. And now we know what some of these opinions are.
Yeah.
It's interesting how this country song forces us to confront.
Well, it does.
Yes.
I'm sorry, but it does. You know, in this song, there's no bones about it. You don't need to like look through the ventriloquism. There's obviously, if I mention immigration and if I mention the White House, there's thoughts about this.
Yes.
You know, I don't care who becomes president. It's tough. You know, you take a new job.
Mm-hmm.
Now you know it's going to be a lot of work. So I don't care what the stance is, etc. I think it's interesting too with immigration. You know, I bring that up, but you know, you look at economics. You know, we need them for a workforce, but we're struggling how to take them in. And I bet you if anyone knew or had a good relationship with an immigrant in this country, they're going to have some feeling about that at the same time. So yeah, some of the songs I write can be construed politically. I think that most importantly, it's that notion of like we want to do something, and now you know like the devil's in the details, the work that goes behind something that you want to do.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's just, you know, like you want to know that secret about your family, and you want to go look inside that, you know, window to the other side, and now you know. And guess what? You get to hold it, and you don't have to tell it. You know. So I like the evolution of that song, but you're right. There's definitely some. I like the word ventriloquism. That's really good word for that, and it applies. Does that answer your question?
Yes. Yeah, we're just exploring the song together.
Oh,
Okay.
And something that I really like about the song is the final verse. It kind of leaves us in an obviously artful, intentional way. It kind of leaves us hanging, where. So what is in the final version of the song? I think it's the lyrics have evolved, saying,
stood up for yourself like you were the victim,
mm-hmm.
even though you were the means to the entire system.
Mm-hmm.
It's all insults and chants, rages and rants, saying I do what I do, because who says I can't?
There's such an interesting note on which to end the song, saying I do what I do, because who says I can't? And then the song is done, and I think the instrumentation kind of. Could you talk about what's going on with the instrumentation? Either of you, I suppose. At the end of that final verse.
I love that part of the song. You know, it's got almost a cinematic kind of a feel at the end, just kind of like the country song echoing in the background. Kind of a feel toward the end.
Yeah.
It's kind of fizzling and dissolving at the same time, you know. But it seems like who says I can't?
Right.
At the very end.
And the juxtaposition of the song dissolving whilst this character is confidently asserting, I'm going to do whatever I want.
Exactly. And that is that quandary there, that tension. Now I know. I'm going to go do whatever the heck I want. And it's kind of like, now you know. You know, if you've lived your life this way, you know, you reap what you sow.
Right.
A little bit. So it's kind of like that character who's like, free for all, I can do what I want. It's like, who says I can't? Well, maybe you will someday.
Mm-hmm.
You know, maybe you'll realize that you know more than you want to.
And this song kind of subtly comments on that confident person's statement, I think, with its own dissolution.
Well, there's no no to any verse. Let's go look in the window. Let's go do this. The final verse, the third verse, is let's dig up the grave. You know, like you want to exhume someone and figure out what happened in this murder or what happened. You dig that up, open the lid. Now you know.
Right.
And boy, I don't know what it is, but
sometimes it's a can of worms, right? You know?
Mm-hmm.
That's a good band name. I think it's been used.
Phantom Fields is a better one. Lightning Strikes. Who wrote that one?
Most of these songs on this album are Steve's,
Okay.
inspired by Steve.
Yeah.
Maybe
Um,
you should talk about it.
Well, I mean, the process seems to be that someone just had an idea for a song and brought it to the group. Say, hey, what do you think about this? Try this. It's, you know, sometimes it's a process of people kind of digesting it and saying, yeah, I like all that, or I like 75% of that. Can we maybe think about something else for this part, or whatever? But it's a process, you know. And this EP, Steve kind of brought the seeds for the songs on 5 of the songs, and I got one at the end, you know,
The closing song.
the baseball song,
Yeah.
at the end, yeah,
Which we will get to.
Absolutely.
We must.
yeah.
Okay, so Lightning Strikes.
Started as a band. Started like with Tate always trying something on pedal steel. And then you talk about ventriloquism. It's just kind of like sort of rap talking over trying to find lyrics. At the time, and like even now, this is just a fun story about someone trying to find a home amidst all the natural disasters. And at the time, the Oregon fires happened. I was thinking about Oregon, and I was thinking about, you know, all the tornadoes, and I was thinking about, I forget which hurricane hit at that time. But, you know, the lyric, every verse is trying to find a home.
Yeah, there's a pivot
And
point.
it's just like you're trying to, where do I go now? Do I go south? Do I go east? Where do I, and every time something bad happens.
Yeah.
Well, and truthfully, you know, when we publish these songs, we've split up the publishing rights 4 ways. You know, as much as, you know, maybe one of us kind of brings the seed of the song to the band.
Yeah.
It's really a collaborative effort, and like you said, sometimes it's Tate was playing this line on a guitar over and over again, and we just remember that from the last practice, and that became a song,
a melody.
Yeah, it became
Start
something
singing.
that grew. But it's really a collaborative process.
Yeah.
You know. Yeah.
So it's just like the fact that the lyrics evolve actually once you're working. With the
Those
band
3
is
hits, you
indicative
know,
of that.
ba-dum, or when you hear it, there's 3. That actually inspired the lyric.
Lightning
You know, because
striking
you know
3
it's the old
times,
adage, lightning
3 hits.
doesn't strike twice in the same place. And
Yeah.
I just kind of pushed it over and like, yeah, lightning's gonna strike at least 3 times.
Interesting. So this song takes the idea that lightning doesn't strike twice in the same place is obviously meant to be reassuring. Oh, I've already been through this experience. Now I can rest of my laurels. But this song takes the idea and kind of performs the idea. Yeah, exactly. That comfort that one might have through thinking, oh, I've been through it, is not warranted.
Yeah, that's funny you bring that up. There is a 4th verse I wrote about getting home. Like, I'm just going to go back home. Because bad things are happening everywhere. I was going to go home.
The song had a happy ending. Or at least
you know, it has a happy
feel.
little
The idea,
feel.
both of the songs so far do. The idea, which I think is another aspect of the power of them. There's something ominous when we get talking about the things that we know. Now you know there's something ominous. This isn't what I want to find out. And then lightning striking 3 times, and me just going like Job. This happens, this happens, this happens. I can't escape. Those are not great things, but it sounds. There's a cheerfulness about it, which works. That's another interesting juxtaposition.
Yes. Good.
You're Too Much is a really sweet and lovely song. I think it takes the idea of, so if lightning strikes is taking the idea of lightning not striking 2 places in the same, not striking twice, then You're Too Much takes the idea of a person being too much, and rebuts. You're Too Much is never too much for me. I noticed that the lyric began, You're Too Much is not enough for me, and I feel like that what it evolved into being is more celebratory
Totally.
of the person. There's nothing lacking here
Well, this is one of those instances where Tate will say something, and I'll pay attention to him. In our other lives, Aaron's a full-time artist. He's a genius in the art world. Tate and I are educators, and so we both share that all that goes with being an educator. But Tate more than me. Tate's like a saint. Tate is someone who deals with behavioral modifications for kids.
Yeah.
He's really committed to that. And we will show up at sometimes and we'll talk shop. He and I will talk education and teaching shop. And he'll say like, today I had to deal with this person who just attacked me. Or today I had to help this kid calm down. You know, he's dealing with the entire spectrum of all the things with behavioral stuff.
Yeah.
So it's a very physical job for him and he's amazing. He made a comment to me that I thought was really special, and he said, when I'm dealing with a kid that's too much for other teachers, I tell that kid, you know, as I'm trying to hold them, etc., your too much is never too much. I'll never say that's too much.
I love that.
I do too. It's really inspiring and really human, but that's the story of that song.
Right.
Like whatever you do on a
from-
test, it's going to be enough. You're too much. Whatever anyone else calls too much is, I will take it all. So that's really cool.
Yeah.
That's where that song came from.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's
And probably one of his diddlies on the pedal steel too. I don't remember where that music came from.
Yeah. Oh, I love how.
So that's kind of Tate's song, actually.
Yeah, I feel that.
Yeah.
Sort of like a root cut off from an old family tree. Thought you'd remember you have a history. That I like revisiting that metaphor now in light of what you were just saying. And the song kind of encourages a person to own all and to be comfortable with and to own all their aspects, no matter how they are perceived. Do you have anything to add about the? So that's one of the singles. Of course, that's the second single.
Yeah.
Do you have anything to add about how that song developed musically?
You know, Lightning Strikes was potentially going to be the second single, but it's a long song. It's almost 5 minutes long. Is that right? So, I love all the songs somewhat equally, but I think that at some point, not too long ago actually, we just kind of decided, well, You're Too Much kind of fits that. Is it a 3-4 minute song? Yes. Might be a little easier for people to get through.
Yeah,
you know,
it's very relatable.
Relatable, yeah. And I've always loved that song among all of them. It's to me that song has a it builds a little bit more than the first two songs as the song goes on, and that kind of shows a little bit more of our abilities to some degree, which I enjoy.
So the lyric that really jumped out to me in Judgment Day is, why did you have to die on someone else's judgment day?
Yeah.
Could we use that as a starting point into this
Yeah,
song?
this one's just a big lament. This one's just a big cry story. This one is specifically, this one is just for all the people who suffered gun violence. This is one of the ones you wake up in the morning and you. This one was inspired by the shooting in Las Vegas. I forget what date, I forget what concert. The guy was in the hotel and then he shot up the country concert.
Yeah.
It was the largest killing, and I was, I read the Star Tribune article, and I was really upset, and it just kind of made me feel like, why did you have to die when someone else wanted to take themselves out? Why does when someone feels, whether it's a suicide bomber, whether it's 9/11, whatever it is, why do you need to? It's just frustration. So that's what that song is. That's where that comes from. The lyrics are directly quoted from survivors. So the second verse is, I lost you in Vegas, and one of the survivors said, I never will forget that sound. The other one there is, I lost, there was one spouse who was shot, and then the spouse was with them, and the spouse says as they're dying, I love you, and so that's a really raw tune.
Yeah.
But we're not, like you mentioned before, we're not really writing pop songs. This is the City Country Collective. These sort of melding things goes back to Replacement.
Mm-hmm.
You have the Swinging Party that the Replacements wrote. I never knew that Swinging Party was about suicide. There is that mesh of what is hard to deal with. So that's Judgment Day.
Yeah.
And it's a tribute, and it's hard to play, and we like playing it, and it's a great song.
Absolutely.
And Aaron, you played the harp on that?
The harmonica.
Harmonica, yes.
While playing the bass. Yeah.
Simultaneously?
Yeah.
Will you be doing so at Mortimer's?
For me, it ends up, the more I play it, the more it becomes kind of a, almost, I'm not going to say a dervish kind of an experience, but the breathing for harmonica, and I have a lot of extended notes that I just kind of hold throughout parts. And then the breathe in always seems to happen just at the right time.
Absolutely.
So that it's percussive with the rhythm of the song, right?
Wow,
So for me, that song is very meditative, or
Totally.
Kind of puts me in a little bit of a trance, maybe.
Yeah, that makes complete sense to me. I feel like
Yeah.
breathing is crucial to my meditation practice, and also it's crucial to being a vocalist and playing harmonica.
Yeah.
And it's thank you for sharing that aspect of your experience of performing the song. And now we'll know what to make of you when you're looking enlightened after that particular song.
Yep.
2 songs left to go. Sky and Star is the penultimate song.
It's loud. It's penultimate. To me, that song has a bit of Prince worked into it for some reason. Just a little bit more of a R&B sound.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's
a Minnesota soul explosion.
Yeah,
it says
yeah,
in the
a little
bio,
soul.
and I can hear that.
Yeah. But then the
accurate.
riff at the end is just kind of a. I don't know how that ended up becoming a.
It's just anthemy and has some nice, harmonies that go on it, their thirds.
Yeah.
It's fun. It's a great one to play.
And this is another one where it seems like it evolved a lot once you were working with the band, because it was used to, in parentheses, be called Favorite Reflection. But then, I think all the lyrics about a bunch of lyrics have been removed. There is no reference to the favorites, and or there's less.
Whatever's come out versus what's on the lyric sheet versus what's on the recording. It's just kind of having fun with when you think you're so different from each other. If you got a little angst, it's come on, let's take each other a little less seriously. And then it's kind of dealing with that situation in our country, whether it's rural versus city versus north versus south. So it's the other, if you be my sky and support me, I'll be your star. Or I'll be your sky. I'll support you.
Yes,
you be my star.
But there's a humor to it.
Totally.
Which does something to challenge the kind of black and white city versus country.
Yeah.
You're the star, I'm the sun, whatever
that
projection it is.
Yeah. So that's a fun one. That's where that comes from.
And that song, Tate plays the guitar too. So in our live show, we try to make it as easy on Tate as possible, because he plays the pedal steel and then has to get up and play the guitar. It'd be a little painful for him if he had to get up and down every other song and switch instruments. So at some point in the set, we'll switch instruments a little bit, and Tate will get up and play the guitar. And that's great that Steve and Tate can then both kind of play off each other.
Rip on those together. Sounds good.
Yeah. Yep.
And then Walk Up Song is on this EP.
Yeah.
The one song that you were the original songwriter for.
Yeah.
And I love that it's a self-referential song. this is the kind of song, 4 chords on and on. This is the kind of song I'd like to hear for my walk-up song.
Right.
And there's the sports.
The sport connection.
metaphor.
Yeah. It's a strange mix between sports and, lore. There's like maybe an epic story of
Yeah.
a kid, becoming famous or whatever. That kind of. I
The
think.
theme music to the first. I'm a
Yeah.
karaoke host, and I do walk up songs for the people that I feel like will get them
Yeah.
riled up. So we can all relate to this concept of the walk up song.
Yeah. What kind of song would you like to be represented, by?
Yeah.
I have to go back to a good friend of ours who we used to spend time with, Greg Schreiner. He always told us, "Man, your songs are so complex. Can't you just do like a 2 or 4 chord song or something? And just keep it simple, And so that song was like, okay, that song is 4 chords the whole time. It's just kind of a cycle that keeps going on and on and on. And I think that my kids, one of my daughters had a boyfriend who played baseball at some point, and for some reason that whole idea of kids just not knowing what's going to happen to them in their life, and do they just kind of baseball game kind of be a drama, in one little encapsulated moment kind of a thing. And the end of the song, it's probably Ted Lasso related.
Oh, really?
Just kind of like when you're a pro athlete, how tough is your life, really, but still you're the one that has to step up to the plate, and whether you get hit or not, it could be the difference in the game, the season, your life, basically, so kind of that stepping up to the plate, and what do you do with that opportunity?
Yeah. How difficult is it? But on the other hand, one is expected to, and one does have to perform.
Yeah.
I like that on our journey, we've gone from focusing on, well, actually, lightning can strike multiple times, and so don't rest on one's laurels, to here, music, I feel like, is something that we can turn to for, you were imagining like the teenager that's playing this ball game, the comfort of, and I'm sure that would help with the performance too, like playing in one's head as one is about to do the difficult thing. This is the music that does provide some kind of sustenance and some kind of comfort to me. I like that the record, that this first EP kind of ends on that note, and that without, back to now we know, the discomforting, agitating context. There's a lot to reckon with, and I like that it's we turn to music as kind of something that provides legitimate solace and something that we can kind of rest on. If we don't, we can't rest on our laurels. I really like the artwork. That's
great.
What's the story behind this artwork?
AI. Ben. Ben he works the magic with the images.
Yes.
And during the process, we were coming up with ideas, and as we kind of settled on "Now You Know" is the single and the name of the album. Just kind of like facing, the reality of what's in front of you.
It's fun. I don't know.
It's kind of scary, It's got a little.
Yeah, I mean, Phantom Fields.
It's got a dark. It kind of ties in with our name and stuff too. When we bring out the next EP, we have a similar idea of the chairs, right? Where you kind of sit down and think
Yes.
about just kind of your place in that time.
So the chair is going to be a recurring motif.
It is.
Kind of is, yeah.
Thank you for sitting down in these chairs and thinking.
Thank you. Thank you.
You're very
Yeah,
welcome.
appreciate it.
And
Yeah.
please come back for EP2. Take a journey through
Absolutely.
that as well.
Love to. Love to.
It's been a pleasure to have you here today. I'm looking forward to catching you at Mortimer's tomorrow. For most people, if you're watching this on TV and it's the first broadcast, tomorrow is the day that you can see these guys release their record at Mortimer's. They are Phantom Fields, or one half Phantom Fields.
Mhm.
And we can catch you at Mortimer's tomorrow. This has been Back to the City. I'm Simon Colbert. Thank you very much, guys, for coming in.
Thanks, Simon.
Thank you.
You're very welcome
Yeah.
indeed. And
Appreciate
we'll be
it.
back at 10 p.m. on MCN6 next Thursday.
Thank